Hi everyone, I'm ABC's Ben Gittleson at Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. We're live on ABC News Digital from a cafeteria here where students are hanging out after a Bernie Sanders event. Senator Sanders held a town hall here with about 2,000 people according to the campaign. It was a crazy enthusiastic crowd and now everyone's hanging out. I'm going to talk to my colleague Mary Alice Parks right here, and we're going to talk to some Bernie supporters in just a moment. This is Mary Alice. Mary Alice, so today there was a lot of back and forth between the Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders campaigns about negative advertising, single-payer health care, and some other issues. So Mary Alice, can you give us a rundown on what happened?
Yeah, it was a really interesting day. The Bernie Sanders campaign launched a new ad this morning about Wall Street. They said that in the ad, Bernie Sanders on camera says there are two Democratic visions for regulating Wall Street. One says it's okay to take millions from big banks and tell them what to do, and then his plan, he says differently, is that he will break up the big banks. The Clinton campaign, as you can imagine, Ben, immediately called foul play. They said that this was a negative ad, that Bernie Sanders had promised never to run negative ads, and so a lot of the reporters were really curious to get his response today during a press conference. But during that press conference, Bernie Sanders stood firm. He said absolutely, in his opinion, it was not a negative ad. He stood by the ad, that it was quote, absolutely not a negative ad, and instead he stood by this line. He said that there are two versions of how to deal with Wall Street coming out of the Democratic Party, and he stood by what he said is clearly his vision to break up the big banks. So it was an interesting day, a lot of back and forth, some volleying of opinions, some name calling a little bit, but again, like you said, Bernie capped the day with a really impressive rally here at about 2,000 students. It was a really energetic crowd. And so we're going to talk to some of the students who were there.
Here, let's go this way.
So we are live on abcnews.com. So these two students, Sophia and Ashley, were students at the rally. So tell me, big picture, what'd you think of it tonight?
I think I've confirmed that I'm going for Bernie. I feel the burn.
What made you like him?
I think I just fundamentally agree with a lot of what he said. I think that Hillary might be a little bit too conservative for me, and Bernie is a real guy that I can, laugh with and feel comfortable around him. So.
Ashley, what did you think?
So I came in undecided, and I'm still undecided because I just don't feel like I have enough information about Hillary to make a decision right now. But I do think that Bernie Sanders is a great candidate because he really is talking about the issues that I feel are important, especially just being a pretty much middle-class black woman. I feel like he's addressing a lot of the gender inequality and economic inequality that exists within our country. So I think he's really hitting home for me. So.
Are both of you registered to vote here in New Hampshire, even though you're college kids? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Philadelphia originally.
I'm from San Antonio.
Okay, but are you planning on voting in New Hampshire?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Have you seen a lot of presence from the two campaigns here? Is there an effort to get college kids to vote?
Yeah. Both Hillary and Bill Clinton have visited and held rallies. Honestly, I haven't heard much from the Republicans at all, which is interesting. Because I don't know if they know about how liberal college campuses can be, and maybe they're not even going to try and tackle that. But I'm surprised at how silent they've been in New Hampshire, or at least in Hanover.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I think the Republican student group brought maybe one candidate. I don't even remember who it was, but they haven't really brought any of the main candidates in the Republican Party to campus yet. I don't know if they're planning on doing so, but we haven't really heard much noise from them.
So one thing you hear a lot about with Bernie, people talk about Bernie and his support, is that it's a bunch of young kids, it's college kids, and college kids never vote anyway. What do you think about that?
I think they should vote, first of all. I think everyone should vote. I think it might be true, though. I think it might, unfortunately, be a true stereotype that college students, not only being young, but being so absorbed with other issues and maybe not even necessarily the issues, just being absorbed with living life and getting through their schoolwork and getting enough sleep, that there's just not enough time for us to think about who the best candidate is or whether I should vote or even to take the time to head down to the polls.
I think that Dartmouth students in particular are really making an effort to make sure that everyone in our student body makes it out to the polls, regardless of who you're planning on voting for. Because I feel like even in our history classes and things like that, we learn about like the woes that our country has faced because a certain portion of the population wasn't able to vote or really just couldn't get out there and get their voice heard. And so I feel like a lot of the tragedies that have happened within our country, whether it be racially or economically or anything like that, has come from a certain group of the population their voices being suppressed. And so I feel like as Dartmouth students, we learn about these things in history classes, sociology classes, and things like that. And so I feel like we're all trying to take it to heart and really just recognize the own power within our own voices.
And so that motivates you personally to make sure you get out there and vote?
Definitely.
Interesting. Well, it was nice to talk to both of you guys. So any lasting thoughts, impressions? How would you explain a Bernie rally to people that have never seen one?
Well, wow, the camera's closed. It's very live. It's full of energy. It's full of people who genuinely care about the future of this country. And I think it's full of people who, like Ashley said, want to give voice to those people whose voices have not been heard yet. And as it stands, it seems that the billionaires and, you know, the Wall Street guys and the Walmart Corporation have really taken control over what is heard in this country. I think that the people in that rally really want to dismantle that and have the regular man, the common woman, the common anyone have their voice heard, especially at the polls.
Interesting. What do you think? Lasting thoughts?
I would agree with that statement, and I just think that the entire room is just filled with hope, and I feel like that's hard to say, especially after the recent times that we've been going through as a country, but I feel like somehow Bernie Sanders manages to make everyone feel like there's still hope. There's still hope within our justice system, there's still hope within our legislation and everything like that, and just within the government. And I feel like his plans are kind of radical, but they also just show the fact that not everyone that might end up in the White House is thinking the same way. There are still some people who have the people's issues in mind, and so I think he's really getting most of the younger people and also just the liberal people in this area really excited about his movement.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. It was great. Appreciate it.
So Mary Ellis was just speaking with two Dartmouth College students who attended Bernie Sanders' rally here in Hanover, New Hampshire tonight. He had about 2,000 people, and that's almost 3 times as many as Bill Clinton had the night before at an event here. The crowd was absolutely wild, and Mary Alice, you've been to a lot of them. Is this crazier than normal, or was this pretty typical?
No, I would say it was pretty typical.
Yeah.
It's been a really interesting part of covering Bernie Sanders. His events are always lively. People come ready to kind of celebrate. They're ready, armed with homemade signs and loud voices, and tonight was an enthusiastic crowd, but I would say it was actually pretty standard.
All right, well, there you have it. We're signing off from Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire on ABC News.